Hi and welcome to the latest edition of the All Sports Betting Podcast. We're here to preview Afghanistan against Australia, which is the second match which takes place on Saturday at Bristol. This is a day-night match. Kickoff time is 1:30 in the afternoon UK time. I'm Steve Wyss. I'm joined by Kevin Harper as always. And how are you doing today, Kev?
Skint, Steve. Yourself?
Same. Pakistan were terrible, weren't they? In the match on Friday. So at the end of the day, we live to fight another day, and we'll be back again. I'm not sure about Pakistan, but the only good thing was that 20-1 outright punt for them to finish bottom could be a runner now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be. They were ordinary, weren't they, to say the least? But fair play to the West Indies. If they produce another half a dozen of them bowling performances at the right times in this competition, they'll be walking home with a trophy. That was pretty impressive from the West Indies, I must say. Compared to where they were in Ireland a few weeks ago, the difference that Andre Russell, O'Shane Thomas, and Etal, Carlos Brathwaite, and the rest have made to that bowling attack is stark, really. And if they keep that up, they're going to take some beating.
Yes, I must say it was a good display with the ball there for West Indies. So on to Afghanistan against Australia then, and this is probably one of the biggest mismatches of the whole tournament on paper. Australia is short as 1-10 to win this game. You're not going to get rich backing them on the nose, are you? But this is pretty much a banker for the Australians, surely.
I've been thinking about this for the last few hours, actually, Steve. I suppose on paper, yes, Australia would want Afghanistan as their first game for a competition, but given that they've got nothing to gain from this match, I just wonder if they'd have been better off playing someone like Pakistan or Sri Lanka or something like that, because Afghanistan are dangerous. Make no mistake about that. It might not be that they're dangerous in this game. I mean, they've got a few things against them, haven't they? Debut game in the competition this season. Obviously up against a side that have got a new ball pair that can rip through any side. But I wouldn't be too surprised if Australia are under a bit of pressure at some point in this match. I don't think it will be the stroll in the park that England and West Indies have had so far, or at least it shouldn't be if Afghanistan play to their potential.
Yeah, I guess it's the sort of match you'd want later on in the tournament, really, that gives you the chance to rest players, potentially, if you're in a good position. And obviously, if you needed a win later on, then it's a nice opposition to have. So, they're going to have to take Afghanistan properly seriously because it's the first match.
And they're going to have to take them seriously anyway, because they've got a three-pronged spin attack that, the envy of the world, Afghanistan. And Australia don't play spin very well, do they? I mean, you're going back 10 years or more for the last time that they played spin well. And Rashid Khan, many people will call the best spinner in the world, probably with justification. But there's two other spinners behind him as well. It's not like, we can play Rashid Khan out and that's the end of the spin. They're going to be facing 30 overs of spin here, possibly more. On a day that's supposed to be, hotter than an oven, it's not going to be the stroll in the park that it's made out to be if Afghanistan perform.
All right, so this match is being played at Bristol, which is Bristol County Ground, which is not one I'm very familiar with, I must say. It doesn't get many international matches. It one per summer, maybe one every 2 years even. So not on the ground that everyone's familiar with. I've been doing a little bit of research. It looks a similar size to Sophia Gardens down there in Cardiff, Kev. Can you tell us a bit more about this ground?
Yeah, not the biggest, certainly straight. They've dumped a load of flats behind one end, haven't they? I mentioned in the podcast on Friday that Andre Russell nearly cleared them. When you watch this game, you'll see just how monstrous that is. I don't think it's the biggest square of the wicket. I mean, it's a bigger square of the wicket, but there'll be bigger square of the wicket boundaries in this tournament. You mentioned that it only gets one game every other year. It's already had one this year, hasn't it? So the coffer's going to be nicely raided for the Gloucestershire County come the end of this tournament, that's for sure. Historically, when you think of Gloucestershire in domestic English cricket, in the 90s and the 2000s, they were a really good one-day side, weren't they? They had a lot of medium pacers, niggly, horrible bowlers, spinners. They played on tacky wickets. Jack Russell was their star man behind the stumps. But that's kind of changed now, and they play on a lot of flat decks. I guess a huge part of that, ironically, given that Australia are here, would be the fact that Michael Klinger's been so good for Gloucestershire over the last 5-6 years that he wouldn't want to be playing on those tacky wickets. So the wicket here in Bristol now is actually really, really good to bat on. As England and Pakistan showed in that ODI earlier in the year, where they both made 300. And a barrel load of sixes. I think it was the ODI that Imam ul Haq hit his century. It's really, really good innings, to be fair to him. And the boundaries are accessible here for both these sides, actually. Afghanistan, they can hit a long ball.
You got a couple of bets for this game. We're going to start with a performance line at 888 Sports, and that is on an Afghanistan player, isn't it?
It is, yep. Mohammed Nabi, 38.5. Generally, when I bet on one-day cricket, I've got a rule that what we discussed the other day with Ben Stokes, 3D cricketers that are less than 40 as a performance line, I'll back as long as as long as the odds aren't 1-2 or anything stupid like that. And that's the case here. Nabi will bat at 5, maybe 6 if they lose a flurry of early wickets and they want to hold him back a little bit. But he'll bat anyway, is what I'm saying. Might even take the new ball against Warner. He's the prize wicket, isn't he, for Afghanistan? And being a left-hander, they'll want an off-spinner to get it in. But obviously, they've got Mujib Rahman, who also an off-spinner. He might get the new ball. But either way, Nabi will bowl all 10 overs. He'll bowl in key times in the innings as well. And if, as we discussed in the Outright podcast, if teams sit on Rashid Khan, which is the way a lot of teams are going these days, and it's certainly the way I expect Australia to go. If that happens, then they're going to have to attack the other 40 overs. So they'll be attacking Nabi, which might well bring his sort of variation into play. He's a clever cricketer, Nabi. But what I like about him in this match in particular, he's played the last 2 seasons in the Big Bash. He starred for the Melbourne Renegades, so he knows not necessarily these players, because they'd have been playing for Australia at the time, but he knows how Australian cricketers function. So he knows what balls to use, what balls not to use. And he's a decent enough fielder as well. He'll field in key positions. So as I said, he's just what we call a 3-dimensional cricketer, isn't he? And when you add up all of that scoring power, he should be capable of getting 39 or more.
Yeah, it sounds like Australian batsmen might not have it all that easy in this game, especially with the spin matchup that you talked about and two quality spinners against them. So it might not be an absolute breeze for Australia when they're batting. But let's talk about the matchup when Australia are bowling at Afghanistan, and it's going to be a completely different kettle of fish, this, isn't it, with the pace attack that Australia have. Are Afghanistan going to be well equipped to deal with this pace, or do you think they might struggle against this?
Well, they need to make sure that they're aware of what happened to Pakistan, that is for sure. Because they're going to get a barrage of short bowling, aren't they? Maybe not from Jason Behrendorff or Nathan Coulter, whichever one of the two partners Mitchell Starc with the new ball. But certainly Mitchell Starc will test the middle of the pitch, and Pat Cummins will do as well. So if they play the short ball well, there's nothing in this side to stop them. Mohammad Shahzad is a really clean hitter of the cricket ball. But actually, in recent seasons, he's been overshadowed by his opening partner. Allow me his pronunciation, Hazratullah Zazai, who actually in a T20 game against Ireland earlier in the year clobbered 160 odd, and he certainly hasn't stopped there. He would have made 50 in the warm-up game against Pakistan, except he was out for 49, but that came in 28 balls with 8 4s and 2 6s. That was on this this very ground, and so he can hit a clean ball. He's only 21, so he's making his way in the game. And they've got a couple of decent middle-order players. So Australia are going to have to work hard for their wickets as long as Afghanistan don't capsize to the short ball.
You are going to take a chance on Pat Cummins, man of the match here at 14-1. Already a player we talked about a lot in the podcast outright. You've got quite a bit of wagering on Pat Cummins, actually. But 14-1 looks a big price if he gets going here. Yeah,
I think so. I'm kind of relying that Afghanistan do fall a little bit to that short ball. And if they do, Pat Cummins could be O'Shane Thomas from Friday. I hope Afghanistan box clever at the start, because I want to see Afghanistan do well in this tournament. I mean, obviously, I want Australia to win the game because I'm deeply invested in them outright on a number of fronts, as you say, Pat Cummins, Steve Smith as well, and of course them to win the tournament. But cricket needs Afghanistan to have a good tournament here, and obviously if they perform well in this game, it will give them the confidence when they go up against Pakistan, Sri Lanka, the two games that are really vital for me and you when in for Afghanistan in this tournament. So I'm hoping they box clever at the start. I'm hoping they see that Mitchell starts the danger and they just not play him out, because it's the power players in it and they can't play him out. But don't take on any balls that they shouldn't do. Just wait for him to pitch it up and then get after him. In which case, Pat Cummins can come in and really test them with his firepower and his pace. And, you know, if he snaffles 3 or 4, which he's perfectly capable of doing, that makes him a runner, doesn't it? Obviously, we're relying on him, on his bowling. He's not gonna win man of the match with the bat, but there's something like 7-2, 4-1 to be top Australia bowler, 3 times the price to be the man of the match. So I just find it hard to see why an Australia batsman would necessarily be man of the match unless they do something ludicrously stupid, because really they're expected to score runs. So Cummins at 14s, it seems like a decent price. There are actually only 7s about him in some sports books, so 14s is clearly overpriced.
What bookmaker was that again?
Betway.
Yeah. It may well come down to a toss-up between Stark or Cummins if the two pacers bowl really well. But so a couple
just on that, Steve, Stark is nursing an injury, so there's no guarantees he's going to come back for a second and third spell in this match.
Interesting. So a couple of bets for Afghanistan against Australia. There, just before we move on, I just want to talk a little bit about the Steve Smith, David Warner reception. Notice that Australia coach Justin Langer has asked fans not to boo Steve Smith and David Warner during the World Cup. They made a mistake and paid a big price for it, said Langer. The media talk about earning respect, and it's really important that people show respect as well. So, I mean, what's your opinion here? Do you think they deserve to be booed? And have they got to expect to be booed, really? It seems a bit of a daft thing for me to say, for Langer to say, oh, please don't boo them. That's going to fall on deaf ears, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Langer may as well have pissed in the wind for all the impact that that's going to have. Do I think they should be booed? No. I think they've done their time. You know, the punishment, whatever you think of the punishment, that was the punishment that was given to them, and they've served it. Will they be booed? Absolutely, they'll be booed. But they'll have been booed anyway, wouldn't they? Because they're Australian.
Warner would be booed anyway, wouldn't he? I mean...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, the World Cup's in England, Australia in England. There's an Ashes series to come at the end of the summer. If any Australians are coming over here not expecting to get a nice time off the crowds, then they need to wake up, have some coffee, and come to the real world. But they're obviously going to get it. They're not stupid. They know what's coming. But as I said in the Outright podcast, you want to be careful what you wish for in regards to Steve Smith in particular, because he's that kind of character that it'll only spur him on. So from the fact that I want as many Steve Smith runs as possible in this tournament, get your megaphones down there and boo all you can.
Okay, well, that concludes this particular episode. Too much on Saturday, like we say. Let's hope we have some good results. And, let's hope Afghanistan put in a good performance and quite competitive. So thanks for your thoughts on this game, Kev.
Cheers, Steve. Take care.